Welcome back to the Foundations of Learning podcast. My name is Shaylee. I'm a previous educator here to empower parents to take back their child's education and create lifelong learners. Today, we are going to talk about the daily habit that shapes your child's future. It's not an app and it's not time with Miss Rachel. I'm sorry. Miss Rachel cannot help you on this one. We are going to be talking about why reading with your child is literally the most important thing you can do and what happens in their brain when you do so. The reason I'm doing this episode is because I have, she's almost 6 months old now, but a 6-month-old daughter, and her favorite book right now is Brown Bear, What Do You See? And it has like these different pictures with the animals. We do the animal sounds. And I've been reading this book to her pretty much ever since she was born, because if you're not reading with your baby, you should do it. I know it seems silly because they can't talk yet. They're not really maybe paying attention. Let me tell you, my daughter will roll over. She'll move around. She'll get her toys, but she always comes back to the book. And it's some way that we can connect and really just slow down and have some quiet time. So that's kind of my own little blurb on like read with your baby, because it's one, building their attention and so many other things. But anyways, I sat down reading this book with her, and it just hit me when I remembered that there was a poll done where Gen Z parents admitted that they do not like reading to their kids because it's boring. And that's kind of the sad reality that we live in today. It stopped me in my tracks, because if reading a book is boring, then what have we allowed technology to do to our brains? Because before the internet, before social media, before AI, if we wanted to learn something, we picked up a book. If we wanted entertainment, we'd go outside, we'd talk to a real human being, listen to the radio, or crazy thought, we would read a book for entertainment. This is what we did for fun. But now we live in a world where we have instant entertainment. It's available 24/7. And suddenly the simple act of reading feels too slow. But Gen Z, if you're listening to me, and many of us adults, let's be honest, your brain and your child's brain desperately need to slow down. That boring feeling is exactly what makes space for the imagination, for the focus, for the deeper thinking. And let me just say, did Gen Z kids never grow up bored? Because in my house, if I was to tell my mom that I was bored, she would give me a lot of things that I could do in the house, like chores. And guess what? I always found something else to do. I would play with my little brother. I would go ride bikes with friends. I would use my imagination. Or yeah, I'd even pick up a book and read. I know, mind blowing, right? So many things. And I'm not that old, okay? I am of the generation that's very weird, where I did have a little bit of technology when I was growing up, obviously, but I didn't grow up with like an iPad. Like I had, an iPod. I remember iPods, obviously. So like I am like on that weird cusp of like, what do we do with her? Like, is she young millennial? Is she like old Gen Z? So I'm kind of on the cusp there, but I didn't grow up with the technology that like hard Gen Z kids had, right? So if you're an older Gen Zer, maybe you're like, yeah, I kind of agree with you. I didn't have that much technology, but I didn't even have the internet on my phone until I was like a senior in high school. It was very limited. Like I couldn't use it whenever I wanted. And so when we think about where we're at with technology right now, I get it, because you were given a device very early on. I don't think we 100% grasped like, okay, what does this technology do to our kids' brains? But we know what it does as an adult. It's very addictive, especially if, you've grown up with social media and things like that. It literally is one of the most addictive substances ever invented, right? Social media. But here's the thing, reading is more important now than it has actually ever been, not just for your child, but for you too. I was also listening to a podcast recently where the host was talking about AI and how it actually makes it dangerously easy to rewrite or erase history or even information. And algorithms are going to feed you only what they want you to see, but old books, they're untouched. They're snapshots of their time. They show us how people thought, how they lived, how they saw the world. It literally anchors us in truth and perspective of that time. And so when we're thinking about like history even, right? You might have textbooks that are feeding you this information, but it's the information they want you to know. That it's teaching you the information of whoever wrote that curriculum, right? It's their point of view. It's not really giving you the point of view of the people of that time. And so I even think in historical aspects, it's also super, super important that we have these old books, that we are picking them up, that we are reading and learning from them. It's super important. And I even know this for myself because, I had an idea kind of like who Horace Mann was, for example, right? And I kind of had an idea and understanding of that time that he lived. But when I read his Common School Journal, it really opened my eyes to who this guy was, what his beliefs were, what his values were, why he wanted an education system. It opened my eyes to the time period and like the conflicts that were going on. Gave me so much more information just by me reading his Common School Journal. That is exactly why I believe it is critical to read with your child and to let them see you reading too. Kids are going to copy what you do and not what you say. If you want them to value reading, they need to see you doing it. When I say reading with your child is important, I don't just mean that it will help them succeed in school. I mean it will shape who they are the same way that an app can shape them, but with way better results. Because let's be honest, an educational app can't compare to you snuggling on the couch reading Good Night Moon for the 800th time and talking about the little mouse on each page. So let's talk about the power of reading and the stats that are going to blow your mind. One bedtime story builds more neural connections than 30 minutes of an educational app. By 6 months, your baby is already recognizing sounds in their native language, and reading is just going to accelerate this process. Even before they can talk, babies are laying the foundation for language and communication when they are read to. When children listen to stories, their brains actually light up. The areas controlling imagery, comprehension, and emotion are activated all at once. Parents, have you ever wondered what your kids are really learning about important topics like taxes, freedom, and responsibility? As an educator, I once had to teach a social studies lesson that only focused on the positives of taxes, completely ignoring the downsides of over-taxation or the importance of personal responsibility. It made me realize how limited the perspective is in many traditional curricula. That's why I'm so passionate about the Tuttle Twins books. These books teach kids both sides of important issues like economics, freedom, and entrepreneurship in a way that's fun, engaging, and easy to understand. They help children think critically and understand the world in a more balanced way. If you're ready to check it out, use my link down below to explore their incredible resources, give your kids the tools to think for themselves, and support my podcast. Reading and writing are the cornerstones of your child's education. Without the right foundation, they can struggle, but with the right tools, they can soar. That's where the 5 Foundations of Reading Ecourse comes in. This course is designed to teach parents how to help their children master phonological awareness, which is the essential first step in literacy, phonics skills like decoding spelling patterns for fluent reading and writing, segmenting and blending, which are key strategies for becoming a confident reader, and orthographic mapping so that your child can learn spelling patterns and use them effectively. Last, you'll learn about high-frequency words, which are essential for fluency in everyday reading. You'll also learn the most effective ways to teach these skills, making learning time productive and enjoyable for both you and your child. Whether your child is ahead or catching up, this course equips you to support their journey to literacy success. Start today by visiting k3homeschoolfoundations.com or check out the link down below. Reading builds attention spans, sequencing skills, and emotional regulation, skills needed for math, writing, and yes, getting through life without melting down at a Target. Oral vocabulary is everything. It's how we communicate our needs, our feelings, and understanding. Strong oral vocabulary directly supports reading, writing, and problem solving later. Children also begin to grasp the concepts of print. So what is this? What is concepts of print? That is just literally that a book has a beginning and an end. We read from left to right, and that those black little squiggles that they're seeing on the page actually represent language. So yes, reading every day matters a lot. So how does reading help us in life? Reading together isn't just about academics, it's about life. You have connection, so story time is one of the simplest ways that you can bond with your child, and that closeness actually builds the trust and emotional security that they need. Emotional intelligence. Stories let kids experience feeling safely. They learn empathy by putting themselves in the shoes of a character. Problem solving stories are full of problems and resolutions, helping children to understand and to navigate challenges that maybe they're having in their life. And imagination. Reading is opening doors to world that they've never seen, and it's stretching creativity far beyond what's on a screen. How does reading help you in future learning? Let's talk school readiness or academic readiness, language development. This is a huge one. Reading expands their vocabulary exponentially, which is the number one predictor of future reading success. If they do not have language, it is really hard for them to read words because yes, we can teach them the phonetic code and we should teach them the phonetic code systematically and explicitly. However, sometimes you might come across a word that you're not 100% sure. You might have all of that knowledge in the phonetic code, but if you have that word in your vocabulary, it's going to be a lot easier for you to read it and you're going to understand what you're reading. Comprehension skills. Kids learn how to make predictions, follow sequences, and connect ideas, all crucial for math as well. Attention span. Listening to a book trains the brain to focus longer, which translate directly to classroom learning. Now, one thing I have heard from high school teachers that I've seen, at least on the internet, is that kids are not even reading full books. Like they can't even do that. Like it's a struggle to get them to even read a chapter. That is so sad. Our attention spans are struggling because we have the, 30-second video that I don't even think some people can get through 30 seconds. Critical thinking. Stories introduce cause and effect, problem solution, comparing, contrasting, all skills that they're going to need across all subjects. Reading and writing. The more words your child hears, the easier it will be for them to recognize, decode, and eventually spell them, like I said. So the bottom line is that reading to your child shouldn't be optional. Obviously, you have free will. You can do what you will, but it's not just a nice thing to do at bedtime. It is the single most important thing that you can do for their brain, their learning, and their life. Brown Bear is very repetitive. I think I have it memorized by this point, honestly, and maybe Goodnight Moon is boring you to tears by the 1,000th read. But every single time that you pick up that book, you are wiring your child's brain for success. It's free. You can go to a public library and get a card and literally get books for free and then go and return them when you're done with them. It takes 10 minutes and it changes everything. So tonight, this is my job for you. Tonight, I want you to grab a book. I want you to snuggle up and I want you to read the story, ask the silly questions, do the voices, because your child's future will thank you. And let me tell you too, young kids love chapter books. So maybe you have a kid-friendly chapter book that's more entertaining for you. They love it. Read them chapter books. It's fun for them too. They don't just have to do picture books. And on the flip side, older kids love picture books. Read picture books together. So like I said, reading is literally the number one habit you should have every single day, not only for yourself, but also for your child. If you found this video helpful or interesting, share it with someone you know, give it a like, and subscribe to my channel, and we will see you next time. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts so you never miss an update. Literacy is the foundation of learning, and every child deserves the tools to succeed. If you're ready to take the next step in your child's education, check out my website at k3homeschoolfoundations.com for resources, curriculum, and support to make literacy simple and effective.